your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I am Reverend Dr. D, your host, Richard Dugan, here with New Paradigms for a New World, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And we are pleased to have a returning guest. She's been on. It's been a long time. Matter of fact, I was checking. It's been 4 years since the last time she was on. However, she'd been on a number of times before that. Her name is Monique Guild, and she is with us here on the program to talk about a unique technique revealed. It's called the process. Now, what takes other consultants, advisors, and as well as wealth management professionals years to figure out, she is going to pinpoint in the first hour of your consultation, allowing you the opportunity to get out of the analysis and chaos, speaking of which, into the bottom line. Monique, it is great to have you back again. And what's really kind of nice is the fact that we're both in the same time zone for a change, and it's great to have you back.
Thank you. It's so great to always hear from you. We've known each other now, I think I think we met after I did my documentary across the country.
I think so. And I'm trying to think if I didn't interview you back when I was living in Phoenix.
No.
No,
we didn't do that. Nope.
Yeah,
but it was the first time was in Santa Barbara.
That's right. Okay. So the first time we were able to do that. Yeah. And I'll tell you, we're going to focus, of course, in a general sense on obviously a business, but a lot of what you talk about is transferable, so to speak. The process is transferable.
The Monique Guild method.
Yeah, the Monique Guild method is certainly something that we can use as individuals as well. So we're going to talk certainly about that. But we'll start out for those who haven't been able to find that one interview, which is available, ladies and gentlemen, on both SoundCloud and all the other outlets for podcasts, but also YouTube. How did all of this begin? What was it that interested you so that you discovered, created the Guild's method, or what have you, to assist businesses in particular to become, I don't want to say more productive, but more, shall we say, more efficient, maybe more effective in what they're doing, and get to the bottom line, which isn't always the dollar sign?
Well, that's a very good question for sure. So I have inherited skills from my dad and my grandmother. And my grandmother could go backwards and forwards in time, even though she would never admit to something like that. But say, for example, we were all supposed to go to New York. All the cousins were going to New York, flying to New York from New Orleans the next morning. And all of a sudden she gets this gut feeling that she needs to cancel the flight. And sure enough, you can Google it, that flight crashed and everybody died. And then my dad had abilities where he was a doctor and he could have a patient walk in the door and tell you everything about that person before they open their mouth. And I grew up in a very kind of a high profile, crazy environment, New Orleans environment that ended up becoming one of the top 4 federal cases in Louisiana. And not, it was because of my stepfather. But I had to know the good guys from the bad guys at a really early age. People were being hurt in my family. And my mom put me on the street when I was 10 years old, and I always had to figure out the unfigureoutable, which is a trademark word I have now. And she literally wouldn't let me back in the house. And so from a very early age, I was having to figure things out very early. And I ended up having to testify against her, testify against turning in my stepfather and all that kind of stuff because of what he was doing. He was a world-renowned doctor backed by the Kellogg and Ford Foundation, nominated, blah, blah, blah. And so I had these inherited skills that I didn't know I had. And I say that I inherited these skills from my dad. And my mom gave me a life where those skills got seriously, seriously exercised as a child. So, but cut to later, just like a few years later, I remember one time I was with my mom and we were talking to an artist in the French Quarter of Napoleon that we knew very well. And he was talking about some business thing or whatever. And my mom says, well, ask Monique. She has really good business acumen or whatever. And I thought that was interesting. And then cut to, I'm 28 years old and I'm running a department. I was an actress for years, a 3rd generation, my whole life. But I always had this business thing percolating. And I ended up getting a job at Showtime Networks as a receptionist. I was quickly promoted to assistant marketing coordinator, and I was overseeing like hundreds of affiliates across the nation to make sure they were promoting Showtime properly. And then I ended up getting a job as a national director of success stories for the video dating service Great Expectations. And I was in the corporate office working with the owner. And anything I did in the corporate office affected all centers across the nation. And I had to prove, my department had to prove statistically that what Jeffrey was saying and proclaiming in the media, that they were, 2.3 marriages, that kind of a thing, I was able to do it within a couple of months. And I also was placing people. I had a database of 1,000 people, happy couples and singles. And I just knew that when I heard somebody's voice, I could tell who, I was placing people in media events all over the nation, whether it was Oprah Winfrey or radio and that sort of thing, TV and or periodicals. And I did so well within 3 months of working there. The LA Times found out about me. I was put on the Metro section, the cover of the Metro section, touted as the bubbly Sherlock Holmes. And that's where things started percolating. I didn't know I had special things going on. I did know, though, that I knew things about people. I too can have a person walk in the door and tell you everything. And now I've done this for 27 years, and I'm able to know what's caused a business to get stuck on an atomic and molecular level. And I know exactly what to do to turn around a business, product, project. And now with even health, people with their health issues and they don't know what's going on and the doctors can't figure it out. Anything that, let's say, Deloitte or any of the biggest consultancy agencies in the world can't figure out, I'm the person they come to get it figured out. So
I tell you what, those are the kinds of skills that we all need for ourselves and our families and so forth, let alone our businesses.
yeah.
I think about that often in terms of, and I've used this terminology over the years, and I'm trying to figure out a better way of phrasing it, but I have put it together in this context, and that is, or I used to put it in this context. I have been gathering tools for years, well, almost 50 years, 47 years this August. I started in this business. And
Oh.
The toolbox is getting huge. All right. I mean, I know a lot of stuff. I want to share a lot of. It's like I don't want to keep the tools to myself, but at the same time, I've got all these tools. And I sit here thinking, all right. And just so people understand, I've been making exactly the same amount from the radio station I've been working for now for 20 years. When I first got into this business, of course, I was going to college and I had work study and that kind of thing. And then the first commercial station, I started out at minimum wage, $3.65 an hour. When I left 15 years later, it was $7.35 an hour, not even, barely half a double. And I sit there going, is there something wrong with my tools or me that I haven't been able to cross that threshold to making hundreds of thousands of, maybe millions of? And then, of course, there's the thought, maybe it's part of the monkey mind that says, well, maybe it's not your lot in life, that the universe doesn't want you to, because it may have the ability to, as they say, corrupt you, and so on and so on and so on.
I'm going to intentionally interrupt you.
Go for it.
I'm going to tell you why. What I'm doing is interrupting the neurology, and that neurology, that conversation you're having with yourself right now is a neurology that started way back when you were a child. And that neurology, that process of thinking every time we think a thought, a chemical gets released in the body. And our bodies become chemically addicted to the neurology of whatever it may be. It could be whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
There's a chemical flow. And what happens is that the brain is in the body, and you got to get the brain out of the body and put it back into the mind, because your body's running the show because it needs a chemical hit. So it's about overriding the chemicals from the past, neurology of your family somewhere. And that's, I get like a film that runs in my mind, and I can see exactly where that all started, what happened, all that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm able to turn things around so fast. So it's about creating a reality that is greater than that neurology, so that your body becomes more, it's more hardwired to a future than that past.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I was going to say that that has started to shift, because I was introduced to a couple of books just recently, and now I rarely ever read books, period, but I have Audible and I read books that way. And it is reading. Okay. Don't think
I love Audible.
Yeah.
I love Audible.
So I was introduced by a good friend of mine who I do another program on the station with. It's called Body of Health, and his name is Dennis Henson, inspirational writer. He's got a book called Real Impact Daily Inspiration. We did an entire year on that book. It was great. Anyway, he sent me a link to a book called The Science of Getting Rich. Now, the biggest takeaway from that book, and I'm going to go back and read it again and again and again, was this: if you want to do more, you have to have more. Okay? And that's just the way that it is. And it kind of is, if you will, spiritually supported. In the New Testament, it says, to whom much is given, much is expected. All right. i.e., there's a responsibility level. And so I've been doing that. And then I hooked up with another one of my guests, Dr. Alan Leica, who is a coach. And we've been talking and sort of working together. And he sent me a copy of Tom Ziegler's book about winning. All right. Choosing to win, or the winning choice, if you will. I have the book, but it's not at arm's length. In any event, so I'm reading that one as well. Now, what's interesting is when I was at the Christian station back in the 80s, early 90s, we used to run a program hosted by his father, Zig Ziglar. All right. So I'm familiar with all of those different aspects. So I'm reading all of these different things. And it's like, now I'm reading 2 books. All right. Which is unheard of. I'm in a phase since we moved. And this is, to me, I think maybe this is a key for what you're talking about. We have changed environments, not only in terms of about 180 miles to the east, but also a good 3,500 3,500 feet higher. We're a mile high now. We were at 2,200. So now we're at 5,700. So we've shifted laterally and vertically. All right, horizontally and vertically. And that has kind of had an effect on me. And I'm sitting here now these days going, oh, yeah, you got all these tools. Sure. Let's do something with them. I'm now using AI as a tool. I'm not afraid of it anymore. And moving in a direction that says, yeah, all of this is possible. Okay. And yet at the same time, I keep hearing this concept: mantras, affirmations, forget about them. Start asking your mind questions. It'll ignore the statements, the mantras and the affirmations. It can't ignore a question. Now, I don't know how much you know in that regard, but what do you think about that in terms of just making a statement? I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. And it's like the bank account stays the same or whatever the case may be.
For me, I'll give you an example. I was working with this guy, Chris,
Okay.
in Denver, Colorado. Rick Butler owned a company called Ardex, one of the largest green commercial sustainable builders in the world. They build government institutions, hospitals out of all green materials. And Rick had four partners, and Chris was one of his partners, and he was $400,000 in debt to the company and was about to be fired. And I was working with Rick on all of his projects. And he brought up Chris, and I said, well, why don't you let me meet the guy? He goes, absolutely not. He said, no, he's done. I'm not putting another penny towards this guy. He's $400,000 in debt to the company. And anyway, long story short, I met with him. I ended up working with him. And within 6 weeks, he was scheduled to close between a $4.2 million and $7 million in real estate. He ended up closing at $5 million. He paid Rick back the money, and he ended up buying the company from Rick. And it's now a $3.2 billion company. So I come from it. I love affirmations. I love, if I wake up in the morning and my mind is chattering in a direction I don't want it to chatter in.
Mm-hmm.
I will start stating what I am now. I am this. I am that. I am, there are certain things I'm calling into my life, and I'll start stating I'm the person who's, this and that and all these things. So I'm all about talking. I mean, I talk to myself all the time. I really do. And so, because you have to realize that talking, those are thoughts, those are chemicals. And if your body's getting flooded with those chemicals of what you're speaking about, and you want your body to get chemically addicted to those things you're talking about. And so, but in the case with Chris, I was brought in, and I was able within the first hour to identify exactly what had him stuck. And the bottom line is he was always a champion extreme sports skier. And here he swore he'd never be like his dad, sitting in a cubicle and with 2.5 kids and a white picket fence. And he hated what he was doing. And all we had to do was switch his neurology from extreme sports skiing to a whole different ball game. So that's my philosophy on it.
By the way, the title of Tom Ziegler's book is Choose to Win, which is kind of nice because it's right up the alley with my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life, which I'm approaching the 2nd anniversary of its publication. This to me is something that many people are searching for. And by the way, one other thing that was a takeaway from The Science of Getting Rich was this phrase, speaking of mantras, if you will. And it said that anytime your monkey mind, that didn't necessarily use that because this book was written in 1910. Anytime you start getting that chatter that you were talking about, here's what you say to yourself: there is only abundance. There is only abundance. That's all there is. There is no poverty. There is no depression, recession, et cetera, et cetera. There is only abundance. You just keep telling yourself that. And I thought it was so fascinating because the conversation in the book had to do, for example, with, and even back then in 1910 and that era, there were homeless people, there were people on the streets and so forth. And the comment was made that it's not because they don't have opportunities. It's not because of this, that, and the other thing. It's because of their mindset. It's because of where that mindset is. Is that one of the keys? Because I know that you're using your intuition. I mean, it's like it's
Off the
on
charts. I'm
a
next
thousand, a
level. Yeah.
thousandfold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about here in a minute. But it's like I sit here and there was this one comedian in modern days who talks about how people are griping and moaning and groaning about specifically, and we won't necessarily go down this path, but I'm just bringing this up because he did, that there are people who come into this country, legally or otherwise, and they come here because they believe it's the land of what? Opportunity. And they take advantage of those opportunities and away they go. And there are those who are born and raised in this country, and they moan and groan and complain about how this has been taken from them and that's being taken from them. And it's like, wait a minute, he says, what are you talking about? You were born here. You have the same opportunities. So if you're not doing well, that's on you. That is not on them. There are no victims. We're talking with Monique Guild, and we're talking from her website, which is moniqueguild.com. That's MoniqueGuild.com. We'll be linked to that website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I want to ask you, Monique Guild, my guest here on the program, Tell Me Your Story, about the aspect that there has been, is, and always will be opportunity. It is not about that. It's about whether or not the mind of the individual or the business is willing to accept that that is the case, that there are no victims, that they are responsible for how they've gotten into the hole that they may be in, okay, as you would analyze, and that it's not permanent. Nothing is permanent.
Not permanent. I will say it's not permanent for sure. It's really, I really believe that God, Jesus, whoever it is you believe in, gives us images, when we're younger, when we imagine ourselves being a certain way. I really believe that that's from God. And I know that when I've had health issues due to outside forces, not because my body did something, where my body got sick, but where I was either exposed to toxic mold and I was violently ill for 15 years. And I was bedridden 10 days out of every month for 15 years and in the ER a million times. But I had to constantly, it was nobody, not even the Olympic ski team neurologist had answers for me. No one had answers. I saw the top doctors in the world. And I finally reached a point where I was done and I was like done. And I said a prayer at the top of the cliff. And at the same time, my entire life, I've been an athlete, and I started watching runners, athletes, watching them. And that fired up the neurons in my own brain. And I was determined to start running again, which I could not. I literally had to stop overnight. And then recently I had a cardiologist a couple of years ago over medicate me, which was a nightmare situation. It was worse than, and I had to override all that. I never thought I would get out because I don't have any medication, anything in my system. And so it's tough sometimes, but you absolutely can override your circumstances. And listening to people who have is really important. I think it's very, very important for sure. So yes.
Yeah,
it's on the individual to seek help and to seek other sources to get beyond where they are, for sure. There's so many people who have done that. So many athletes that are NBA players or whatever they are. There's so many people. Oprah, it goes on and on. So.
And it's one of those things where, I myself, I played back in the 80s for a very, very short time. I played the victim game. Oh, yeah. And I won. And people will go, well, how the heck did you win? Well, because I stopped playing. That's how you win. You stop playing. And it's one of those aspects where I sit here thinking about that and I think, yeah, I won the game because I stopped playing the game. And unfortunately, a lot of people are still doing that. And it isn't it and it distracts, it takes away our own energy. We're sending our energy out to those people that we want to blame instead of turning it inward and saying, I'm responsible for where I'm at.
The
Now,
moment we take responsibility, the universe rushes in to support us,
yeah,
period.
yeah,
The moment we say, you know what, I am done with this effing situation and I'm going to turn it around, and the universe starts, but you got to learn to listen and to hear and go within and hear how you're being intuitively guided.
yeah. Well, I tell you, it is a fascinating journey that we find ourselves on in this world. It's a lot of fun too. It really can be. And I will tell you that a year ago, and we did talk a little bit about this, when we were setting this particular interview up, that a year ago, my wife and I were going through a lot of stuff. Okay. And we could have blamed any number of people. But then I started running the process. Now, again, I wasn't going into victimhood, mind you, but it was more just a mental process I was going through saying, this is why there is no victim here. This is why you are responsible. All right. Do I blame the landlord? Okay. No, because the landlord and of course her father and mother 20 years ago, they gave us the opportunity to move here. Okay. So do I blame them? I said, well, no, because you made the choice to move here. All right. So do I blame, and I kept going back in time, a little further back and a little further back. Well, what about this and what about that? And it's like, okay, so how far back are we going to go? Are you going to go back all the way to Adam and Eve? It's their fault because they sinned in the garden, and that's why we're in the mess we're in today. It doesn't do you any good. Plus the
Gives you no
fact,
options. The
what
moment
have
you
I
start
just done? I've wasted my time and energy trying to figure out who's responsible when in fact all I have to do is look in the mirror. Do you have difficulty getting people to understand that?
No, the people that come to me are seriously, I deal with some of the top cases all over the world.
They're ready to go.
Like in El Salvador, when they're transitioning third generation coffee, sugar cane hotels and condos to the fourth generation. And when their family fights, the riot police have to be called in. And they're working with one of the biggest consultancy agencies in the world, and they can't get the job done. And I happen to be working with the sister in Los Angeles. And she said, I think you need to talk to my brother in El Salvador. And I had no idea. I was like, sure, I'll talk to him. I had no idea who the family was, but they're fourth generation El Salvadorians. They're very prominent. They're the kindest, most amazing, educated people I've ever met. And one of the most educated people I've ever met. Some of them, and they needed the job done quickly because it had been 2 years of working with this other consultant agent, and they weren't able to do it. And so they were ready for a solution because people were, the riot police were called in. So I got the job done in 4 months. So people who come to me, I can't deal with people who are not looking for a solution. I don't even operate on that level anymore. I can't. I short circuit. I have to, and I'm also, it's anyway. Yeah. So people who come to see me are very solution or they're looking for a solution for sure.
Yeah, they're already primed
God,
because
yeah.
it reminds me of one of Gordon Ramsay's programs where people will call him to come fix their restaurant, right? And then the next thing, and it again, this is maybe the person who actually called them, and he gets in there and he does his evaluation and he says, "This is what's you need to fix this, and they go berserk. They just go, well, but da 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 da, excuse, 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 and it's like, wait a minute, you called him. You called him. Why are you giving him so much
I'm not
status?
interested in that. The people who don't,
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, I can't deal with it. I personally can't do it.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's yeah. And so that's the focal point from your standpoint is you got to be ready to hit the ground running and so forth.
yeah.
Uh,
Like another great example is in 2016, Hillary Clinton's media consultants were fighting behind the scenes, and I was working with one of the partners, and then I ended up working with her partner who she was arguing with,
mhm.
and I ended up mediating them and getting them, and yeah, so they're running an election, a presidential election, so they need a solution pretty quick because they weren't talking to each other at all.
Oh
So
man,
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
good.
No,
That's not good.
they would not talk to each other. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty intense. I deal with really intense kind of things.
Yeah. Monique Guild's my guest here on the program, moniqueguild.com. The website will be linked to, and we certainly hope that you will check out the work that she's doing and maybe get in touch with her and have her do a little consultation with you and or your business as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world. How, Monique Guild, is this concept, this method, the Monique method, how is this a new paradigm from the way we've been doing it for decades? And by the way, I've often used this phrase when talking, whether it's the economy, whether it's business, whether it's religion, education, whatever category you want. Why are we doing it this way? Why aren't we finding a better, maybe more efficient, more effective, more cohesive method for dealing with each one of these than what we're doing? And it's like that old story of grandma cooking the ham. And every year they come over for Thanksgiving and she cuts the ends off the ham, puts them in the pan, puts the pan in the oven, cooks the ham. And one year, one of the kids says, "Grandma, why do you always cut the ends off of the ham?" And she says, "Well, it's the way I've always done it." So, well, what, but why? He says, "Well, because it's the only way the ham will fit in the pan, as opposed to getting a bigger pan." So, what about that? Is what you've come up with? Is it really new, or is it old from the standpoint of spirituality and metaphysics, shall we say?
Now, I'm really scientifically based. My whole family are doctors, and everything I speak about and talk to is all scientifically. It's neurology, it's chemistry, it's neuroscience, and it's atomic molecular energy. So if I'm talking to El Salvadorians and they got the riot police coming in and I'm asking them to do things a certain way, I have to be able to back it up by science.
Mm.
So I myself am very, I'm so connected to God. I'm alive because of, God, Jesus, whatever. It all the credit goes there, and I know that I'm a vessel because I should not be alive with what I went through. I was exposed to the most deadliest toxic black mold, and most people are left brain dead. And I wasn't. I obviously I'm still here, and they're not done with me yet. So I for me, my method, the Monique Guild method, is all based in science, and it is based. Everybody starts with an individual, but I have a private list now. And for someone to be on that list or even to work with me, they have to sign up, and that they go through an evaluation period because I'm only taking on certain clients and companies and people now. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your question. So it's my method. I developed it over many, many years, decades, but ever since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
This isn't new, but it's definitely expanded in ways that are I'm able to jump timelines, go backwards and forwards in time, and all kinds of stuff. So that's why things turn around so quickly.
Now, again, we've already acknowledged that they wouldn't be coming to you if they weren't ready to make the change. Okay. But you and I both know that when it comes to science, there's a lot of resistance in this country in particular with the whole scientific community, unless, of course, it supports your respective belief, philosophy, agenda, position, what have you. And then, oh, the science is just fine. It's kind of like arguing, did we really land on the moon in 1969? Did we really go around the moon just a couple of months ago, and come back again? I joked with a good friend of mine who we talk about these things on another program. I said, well, I've come to this conclusion, Doc. His name is Steve Cates, Dr. Sky. I said, Doc, I've come to the conclusion that space flight, with only one minor little glitch in the whole process, which happened to be the glitch was the toilet on board, was perfect. Ergo, it was so perfect, it didn't happen. It wasn't real. They did it on a soundstage. Now, I'm being facetious, okay? Because I'm happy that it was perfect from that standpoint. Is it possible for us to reach sort of that level of perfection from the standpoint that we move through a lot of the obstacles that have been holding us back, and all of a sudden we see this incredible, shall we say, success? All right, if you want to use that as your definition or gauge for success. However, everybody's different. Is that really where we are at, where you look at the success going, they use this phrase, and my wife and I have started to eliminate it from our vocabulary. That's unbelievable. No, 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 no. It's believable, right?
Yes.
That's a mindset that needs to shift, right?
Well, yes. And everything and anything is possible. But when you're talking about the science, when I stick to neurology and chemistry, and it's just what it is. We think a certain way, those thoughts flood chemicals through our body, and our body gets addicted to it. It's real simple. And it's about not having the body crave a chemical hit from the past, but getting the body primed and ready for the chemicals of the future and downloading from the future. Because as a futurist, I myself am able to download and see where a person is capable of going, or the business or company, whatever it is I'm dealing with, and how far. And it's about downloading from that neurology. So that means they're contemplating more about that than they are the past and rehearsing the past.
What is the first question that you usually ask, either in the conference room filled with the people that are involved in this process, or because you also meet individually with the members of the team? Is there a first question that you're
no
already
cookie cutter, no cookie, because I have to follow the pictures. When I hear somebody's voice, I get information, and so I work with a lot of people. I couldn't go to El Salvador. It's too dangerous for me to be there, even though they own the hotels and all that kind of stuff. And I would have been in armored cars and all that. It was just too dangerous for me to go. And so we did everything by PowerPoint over the phone. So all I need to do is hear someone's voice, and I start getting information, all kinds of information now. It's so advanced now. It's really cool. And so no, there's no cookie cutter way. Not at all.
So the beginnings with a company or individuals is very, very much intuitive. Again, it's those pictures that you're getting when you hear their voice.
It's pictures. It's like a film runs in my mind. And I just know things. I just know it. I just know. And that's why I get hired, because I'm, people, there's no time to waste, and people want answers. I'm the person you hire when they're out of time and they've spent X amount of dollars and they just can't do it anymore. They need to find a solution. Right. So, Yeah, but there's no cookie cutter. And when I meet with a partnership, like with Rick Butler, I met with him, and then I ended up meeting with his other partner, Chris. And then I got to meet another partner who had a $11 million stuck hospital project. And all Rick had to do was put his voice he put his voice on speaker. They were confirming an appointment. And I looked at him and I said two things. Number one, the guy's having an affair. And number two, he has political aspirations. And that's why he wants you to step down as CEO. And Rick looked at me and was like, what? I mean, he was a Vietnam vet. He is a two Purple Heart recipient. And he was a fighter pilot in Vietnam. And this is a hardcore guy I'm dealing with. And he looked at me like I was an alien that landed in his office. He says, you are out of your mind. And I said, no, I'm not. Sure enough, that guy showed up at 6 o'clock to answer these questions of why Rick should step down and he should become CEO of a company. And at the end of answering 35 questions and answers and all that, Rick looks at him and says, I got a question for you. He goes, yeah, sure, whatever. And I was there. He'd introduced me and said I was a strategist, and did he mind if I stayed? And he was like, no, not at all. And the minute I met the guy, I was like, oh my God, I've got this so nailed. But Rick says to him, do you have political aspirations? And that's really why you want me to step down? The guy turned beet red, about fell out of his chair and coughed and all that stuff. And I mean, I'm not kidding. And because it came out of nowhere. And he looks at Rick and he says, I do. And then 6 months later, and now I don't have any judgment on anybody's life, but what happens is this guy was hiding a lot of information. He was hiding the truth behind why he really wanted Rick to step down as CEO. And of course he was hiding the affair, and all that goes into all that. And that atomically emits a certain frequency. This guy, his frequency was not clear and clean. And then you're going to attract it atomically. You're going to attract back in other atoms of like frequency. And no wonder it was a big cluster F of this hospital project. There's no mystery here. Yeah. And then when 6 months later, when it was proven that the other was true, and I'll never forget the day that the three of us were walking out the door. And he had said yes about the CEO thing. And I just remember looking over at Rick and I just smiled, and so, yeah, there's, that's a great example though of what we're emitting. That's energy. Everything, we know this, everything is energy. Atoms attract other like atoms of similar frequency. And so what you're emitting, you're going to attract. So, really feeling prosperous, looking at abundance, feeling like you're abundant, counting your blessings, all that adds to more of that coming in. But if we're constantly switching our focus and our mind to negativity or this person or that person, whatever, I do my best to never go into all of that, and to just stay on what I'm creating. So what are you creating mentally, physically, spiritually, career, financially, fun, education, material, relationship, and contribution in your life? What are you so excited about? It's like a kid, when you're a kid and you got your first bicycle, your first girlfriend, it's all you could think about until you rode your bike or you saw the girl again or whatever it was, right? And that's what we need to get. We need to become childlike again, that we're so excited about. I remember one time as a kid popping out of bed and it was Easter. And I was so excited about the bunny, the Easter bunny and the eggs and all. And it was all I could think about. So we need to become childlike like that again.
I would agree. And I have to tell you that I have been fortunate when I think about the DIY projects since we moved into this house. I'm not even working on them at this very moment because I'm talking to you, right? But I'm excited. I am like, I can hardly wait to get out there and do this, do that, and the other. Good. Think about there's this shelving that I'm putting into a cabinet, but I had to remove all of the material that was in there, and I'm using that material for the purposes of building this new shelving in there. We're sort of repurposing that space, and it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight because some of the material is warped. but it's
But don't
fortunate.
go there though. Don't go into that.
No. But the process is something I'm excited about in terms
Yeah.
of, okay, it needs to be adjusted. So here's what I'm going to do. Part of the process. I'm going to get some clamps and I'm going to get this and that, and then I'm going to wet it down. And over the next week to 10 days, I'm going to flatten that stuff out. And then it's going to go in there really nicely. And then we're going to do this and we're going to paint that and we're going to, and I'm just like,
Stay in
wow.
that. Stay in what it's going to look like when
Yeah.
it's done. Stay in the
Yeah.
end result.
Yeah.
Get a picture of what the end result is. Scribble out the end, make a picture, make
Mhm.
a childlike picture on a
Yeah.
card of what the end result is going to look like, and keep your mind on that and
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Do that across the board in all areas of your life.
Yeah. Well, and of course, doing that means that I will then be accessing and utilizing, my intuition to guide me through the process of getting to the image that I am seeing in my mind's eye.
You'll hear your intuition. You'll hear how you're being intuitively guided by just staying focused on the end result. Because then the universe can come in and give you information of the end result. But if you're thinking about the warped blah blah blah, then the universe is like, oh, okay, we'll think about the warped, and we'll give you more of that in other areas of your life.
Yeah, but it is
not
so
just
much fun.
affecting that there.
Yeah. What is so much fun is just thinking about how things are going to look. And what is really amazing is when we were in the process of selling our house back in 2006 in March, after we'd done a little recon in Santa Barbara, we came back to the house, started packing, and then we started to do what they call staging. And when realtors with the people that were looking at the house would come over, they couldn't believe how beautiful. You guys did a great job of staging this house. Well, that's not what we called it. We just wanted it to look nice. We weren't hiding anything. We were just making it look nice. And even if we weren't moving, we would have made it look nice too. And so here we are in this new home that we've been here since October of last year. And within, I think, 3 or 4 months into the new year, we had already put up a bunch of pictures on one wall. And then we kept moving forward with a bunch of pictures. And then we kind of put together a series of them in one area as like a little shrine, and on and on and on. And then when we'd have visitors over, they would just look at all of this going, wow, this is looking really cool. And that's part of the excitement of either us fixing up the house and making those DIY projects come to life, or in the case of myself and what I do, utilizing those tools and so forth, and or whatever it is. In a relationship, it can be the same thing. By the way, I don't think I've ever told you this. My present wife and I, wow, 28 years ago, when we first got together, within a few months, we began to share with each other how we came together. And we were both, now either she did this intuitively, I was actually instructed by someone to do this. And they said, make a list of what you want in your next relationship. And we both had done that.
Oh.
Boom. Wow.
Yeah.
So I would take it that is extremely important to do, not just make the list in your head, but actually put it down on paper.
It's like drawing the end of the picture.
Yeah.
That's what I said to you, draw the end of the picture. You guys wrote out the end of the picture.
Yeah. What's real interesting, and I do this comparison, when we sold the house in Phoenix in 2006, I want to say we sold it for $216,000. All right. And then we moved across country and we rented for almost 20 years. Never in my wildest dreams had I ever imagined that we would ever own a home valued at, and I like putting it this way because it sounds so much cooler, $250,000.
Very nice. Isn't that fun?
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, it is. And of course,
That's
most
abundance right there.
exactly.
That's huge abundance.
Do you
That's
think
great.
that that's part of the problem is that we have defined abundance in one way and we've then sort of neglected or ignored or not being able to
It
see?
doesn't matter what the problem is.
Well,
You've got the solution that you're living in,
I
you know,
understand.
and your solution is like it's so just staying in the abundance of this amazing roof you've put over your head,
Hmm.
staying in the abundance of the fixing up that you're doing and the DIY stuff that you're doing. I mean, look, I've moved so many, I love moving and decorating and I love all that, buying
Hmm.
furniture. I love it. I should have
Right.
owned a moving company and a real estate company and a mortgage pro. I mean,
we
I've done
we
it
would
so
have called
much.
you. We would have called you.
I love it. Like I love it. And I just anything creative like that. And staying only in that abundance of what you guys have created over your heads now.
Yeah.
What a blessing, and how all the whatever it doesn't matter what all the factors were that got you to where you are. You're living
Right.
in a beautiful place,
Yeah.
and you've got this roof over your head that you could make it anything you want in the whole world. And you have all
Yeah.
these cool projects you get to do now and just lavish yourself up in all of that only.
Yeah.
I don't give a flying F about. I mean,
Yeah.
we just stay focused on what we're creating, where we're going, what's the end result of just today. What's the end result of today that I would like to accomplish? What's
Hmm.
the end result of that corner that I would like to see? What's the end result of, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's just like me talking to you about it brings tears to my eyes because I love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just thinking about, gosh, and contemplating that more than the past, what happened, I mean, we all have had our fair share of stuff we could definitely talk about for sure. I don't want to. I want to go like, where am I going? What am I creating? What do I want? And I love Steve Harvey. I listen to Steve Harvey all the time. He's the Black comedian who's
Yeah.
amazing, and I love him. And he always talks about God and but the way he speaks, and he's so funny, and just constantly he's constantly thanking God of what's been God, how God's using him and things like that. And it's he says, ask big. It says it in the Bible. Ask big. Just ask. It's all there.
Hmm.
We don't have to read all this stuff. It's all in the Bible. And I've never been a Bible. I have my mom's Bible now on my desk. She's passed away. Now I've started like looking at the scriptures,
Hmm.
and they really are there. Like it just
Hmm.
says that all the self-help books in the world, it's all in the Bible. It all
Hmm.
comes from the Bible.
Mm.
And I just staying in what you guys have created an amazing freaking life. You got this amazing house that you've described to me, and it sounds like so cool. And
Yeah.
I love trees,
Oh, yeah.
so good
That's
for
funny.
you.
It's funny. On this day that we are conversing here, I came into my studio around 6:30, and all of a sudden I just started to
Which is in the
sneeze.
house.
Yeah, it's in the house, right?
Yeah.
And I
It's in the
started
house, which is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I started to sneeze and sneeze and sneeze and sneeze and sneeze, and I was like, "What the?" I've come into this room I mean, hundreds of times over the last few months, never had this problem, and all of a sudden I'm sneezing and like that. And of course, I finally was able to compose myself and do what I needed to do. And then I went upstairs and I made my pot of coffee, which I'm in the process of finishing now, the last cup. And I went outside on our front deck to enjoy the sunrise, the
You have a
sunlight,
deck.
all of that
Like,
stuff, right?
how abundant is that? You've got a deck to go out on.
I got two of them, actually, one in the front, one
Oh
in the
my
back.
God. I mean, come on.
Then I came back down into the studio and I started sneezing again. I was like, what is going on? Now I have not, since we started,
Yeah.
haven't had the problem.
Not a sneeze at all. No.
And I'm sitting here going, okay, it's not dust because I've been keeping this room pretty clean and so on and so on. It's got to be something else that's going on inside,
What
you
did you
know?
eat this morning?
Well, that's just it. The coffee is pretty much all I've had today.
Okay.
All right. And I was sneezing before I had the coffee.
What kind of detergent are you using?
Oh, it's there's no fabric, there's no chemicals. What am I saying? No
Perfume?
scent, no
Perfume.
color or scent
Okay.
in it. All right.
Okay, so
It's
it's
that
not
kind of
that.
stuff.
What kind of shampoo are you using?
I think it's kind of along the same lines. I think it's oatmeal and shea or something like that, but I don't use a lot of
I was
shampoo
being
myself.
funny. I was being funny.
Very good. Very good. But it's one of those aspects that a lot of people don't think about, because a lot of times when you have some kind of a physical reaction to something or a place where you normally go, because as soon as I went upstairs, I was fine. All right.
You're fine right now.
I'm fine right now.
You've been
So
fine
I'm
this entire
thinking
time.
there
Yeah.
must have been something going on in my head that I wasn't maybe conscious of, that I've kind of flushed out, worked through, let go of, what have you. Um, but I will also tell you that there are times when I can't wait to get out of this room, because, first of all, it's on the first floor. I have the window blacked out just because of the glare from the sunlight coming through in the afternoon, although I'm going to modify that so I can have light without the heat and so forth. But anyway, um, and it's like, okay, I want to get finished with this, whatever it is that I'm doing, so that I can go upstairs, get my coffee, go out on the deck for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and just take in the cool air. I mean, it's June 30th as we're conversing, and we had 44 degrees this morning.
Oh my God.
I mean, you talk
Wow.
about blessed and
Yes.
abundance.
I
Oh,
love that.
and I'm
I'm
originally from
Norwegian.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. 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 I love that. That
Yeah.
is amazing. Let me ask you, do you have carpet on your floor?
It's actually, we have wood floors, but
Okay.
we have rugs that we have laid out.
Okay.
Okay.
There's the rugs release a chemical if they're
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
So that could be, but you know what? It could be psychological too. It really could.
And
Because you
that's,
haven't sneezed once since you and I have been
no,
talking.
not at all. And haven't
Yeah.
had the urge, and it's no congestion, what have you. But I find that fascinating, that a lot of times we almost ignore it. Oh, I'll go take a pill and that'll get rid of the itching or the
Right.
sneezing or the this or the that or the other. When in fact, I need to take a moment, go within and say, what's going on? What is it that I need to look at? I need to address, I need to deal with. And obviously I'm just going to say that I must have, because I'm fine now.
You're
Uh,
totally fine.
but that's one of the interesting things. I want to ask you about something else before we wrap things up. But before I
Sure.
do that, I want to tell you folks, you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. She is Monique Gould, and we are talking about the work that she is doing in the Monique method here on Tell Me Your Story. I want to ask you, Monique Gould,
Guiled.
Guild, beg your pardon, Guild. You have been labeled, so to speak, and it's a good label, okay, as the best futurist turnaround and development strategist. All right. First of all, that's something that that sort of has been, I want to say, put on you, or that you've accepted. What does that mean to you?
Well, it just means I can diagnose faster than anybody in the world what the problem is. That's exactly what it means. I can
I
go
like
in and then diagnose the situation within the first 10 or 15 minutes and tell you exactly what's going on.
I like the futurist part.
Yeah, me too.
And
I
it's
love
not
it.
that you're trying to tell the future,
No,
but
no. But I just know chemically what's happened with the person, where things have gotten stuck.
mhm,
I
mhm.
just know, I know, and I can diagnose. And that's why when I meet with partnerships, I meet with everybody in the partnership and generally, and I'm able to diagnose the situation really fast. I come up with a solution, problem and solution really quickly,
Well, and that's really
more
important too.
faster than probably most of the people in the world, I would say.
But I have to wonder, because I have an interview coming up in about a week to 10 days with someone who has written a book having to do with how sometimes it's okay to be late. Now, what they're referring to is not in terms of like you scheduled a meeting for 10 o'clock and you decide, I'll show up around 10:30. No, it's making reference to the fact that we are in our world is being forced in one sense to move faster and faster and it's like people who, well, they'll text and they want a response yesterday, or they email you and they want a response yesterday, or whatever the case might be. And it's like, why are we not slowing down just a little bit? We don't need to move so fast. How does that play into all of this?
It's gonna happen. We can't, Elon is doing what he's doing, and I'm an Elon fan. I am. And I don't know if I would say a fan, but
you recognize his accomplishments.
Oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? Like, he's done things that are beyond, but the whole AI revolution, everything that's happening there, we either going to flow with it or we're not.
Yeah.
And I can't stop it, but I can control my situation and me and this or that. And if a person is upset that they haven't gotten, I can't control their behavior. I can do the best that I can, but I make sure that I'm in an environment that's quiet, peaceful, calm, and I have control over it, and over my mom always said, cultivate de jardin, cultivate your own garden. I can't control anybody else's.
And that's another aspect too, that I think we need to acknowledge, is that we need to recognize those things we can control and that we can't.
Let go of what we cannot.
Mm-hmm. The serenity prayer.
Exactly. It
Serenity
is the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are talking with Monique Guild, and we're talking about her work, her method, and her best futurist turnaround and development strategist acknowledgement. I think that's fantastic that we get that in there, because it gives, and quite honestly, I don't know that it necessarily gives credibility. You already have that by virtue of the work that you're doing, and that we all could be doing that. Is this something that people can learn in terms of the connection that you have?
Well, I have a look right here here's the prototype to my book, and it's based on a workshop I have taught for 27 years. I started in 2000, and it's all about your soul's purpose goals. Your soul knows your business and career goals. The intuitive goal workshop, it's an 8-week workshop I did, and it's all about hearing how we're being intuitively guided. What are the blocks that prevent us from hearing? Blocks like grief, resentment, negative thinking. And I teach people how to identify and trust their own intuition. So this is the prototype, and I've just gone through and made some corrections. And I'm probably going to self-publish because I want to go ahead and get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, and on the back of it says, have you ever asked yourself, how far can my business go? What are my true strengths? What should I really be doing in my career? Why do I feel so stuck? What is my next step?
Yeah, that's very cool.
So this is coming out really soon. Yeah. So I'm excited about it.
We'll put up a link to that book so that people can get a copy of it when it becomes available, and also to your website and so forth. This is something that people need to check into. What I find so interesting is that when I was going through my one and only divorce, and I was asked what the value of my company, which was called Fast Forward Audio Communications. It was not an official thing. It wasn't, anything other than just me doing little side projects and so forth. And they were, well, what's it valued at? I said, well, I have no idea as far as the equipment, maybe $200, $300, $400. So really? He says, yeah. I says, no, really, what is it valued? I says, well, without me, there's no value at all. Okay. So what $5 billion is what mine's valued at. I didn't say that, of course. And that's one of the things too, that I think is really important for us to recognize, that whether it's your family or your business, it's It's priceless when you are connected. It's priceless. You
Yeah.
can't put a dollar amount. And I will also tell you, because you mentioned Elon, anybody that has a problem with what's referred to as the one percenters, all right, maybe some of them are not being real, steward like with their resources. I again going back to that phrase, to whom much is given, much is expected, the responsibility aspect. But to those who are living up to that particular phrase, I give them all the credit in the world. I don't
Absolutely.
hate the Jews or this group or that group or the other group for the accomplishments that they are accused of controlling. I'm going, hey, they figured it out. I'm
Yeah.
proud of them. I'm on their side.
Yes. Yes. I
I'm on
mean,
their side.
I'm
And with
all
Elon,
about it.
I mean, who knew that in 50 years we would have privatized space travel?
Right?
Really? I thought NASA would be controlling it for decades to come. And they're still in it. They're still in
Yeah.
it. But I think it's fantastic.
Elon takes used rocket ships and
Yeah,
rebuilds them, and he
yeah,
does it less expensive than anyone else in the world.
yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on. I listened to different things on him. His Isaac Jacobson, I think is his name, who wrote his book, Elon.
Hmm.
No, Walter Isaacson.
Hmm.
Yeah, wrote his book. I listened to that. There's a other new book out on him, and I just think good for him. He's living his life. He's given it
Absolutely.
his all, and I appreciate that.
And we appreciate you, Monique, for being a part of Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. She is Monique Guild, and her book is available, and her website is moniqueguild.com, and we'll be linked to that website. And I want to thank you for contributing to the work that we are doing here to try to change the world for the better for everyone, and working towards each of us, whether we're individual or we're part of a business, trying to make those better and more, I want to say, more accountable to the rest of the world, because we're not here alone.
No.
There's nothing wrong. Absolutely. And this is one of the other aspects I've learned from these two books, Choose to Win by Tom Ziegler, as well as The Science of Getting Rich, is that there's nothing wrong with any of that. I want to do more, so I want more. And I've been telling the universe, I want to start with $100,000. Okay. I said, I want to start with $100,000 and then just keep it coming in. And then I will keep it flowing out. And there has to be a flow. There has to be a flow. All right. Because you can't take it with. My father passed away a few years back. He didn't take any of it with him.
No, my
Okay.
dad died a few years back ago too, and he didn't, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
In spite of what Steve Martin said back in the 70s, they say you can't take it with you. Well, I'm taking it with me. No, you're not. No, you're not. Monique, thank you so much for being a
Thank you,
part of what we're doing
Richard.
here.
You're so amazing. I always love seeing you and
Thank
talking
you.
with you, and just you guys have so much fun redoing your house and whatever you're doing with it. Just stay in the fun.
Absolutely. I do have three final questions I'm going to ask you. I haven't asked you in 4 years, and they may have changed a little bit since the last time we talked.
Maybe.
Before I ask you those, I'm going to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., and Wednesdays at 9 a.m. That's 9 different programs, 9 different guests, 9 different topics. We hope that you'll tune in at those times as we stream live at richarddugan.com with the podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we're on YouTube and Rumble. So hope that you will subscribe and click notification. We hope that you'll get a copy of my book, which is Choices, 5 Steps for Life, available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And we also hope that you can help us out financially. We can use all the help we can get. And we thank you to those who have helped, to those who will help. And also take some time during this, the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to and follow the promptings of that still small voice. And with all that, we go to our three final questions to our guest, very special guest. And the first of those is, who is Monique Guild?
Child of God.
What gets you up in the morning?
Life. I get to live.
And what was your best day?
Oh my, every day. Every day is the best day.
Wonderful. Well, Monique, again, thank you so much for being with us here on the program. And we look forward to having you back again to carry on this conversation. And we thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to love. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my brother, Michael, living all the way across the Pacific Ocean, Vietnam, congratulations, my friend, for becoming a father at the age of 64. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.